Thank you very much. Well, it is a privilege to be down here. Thank you very much. And I'm almost glad that we don't have the VCs because I'm a bit of a walker. So to think that I had to stand behind a desk here for an hour and a half, I was going to have a chain of walkers. I'll do my very best. Usually this would be a facilitated workshop and probably we'd spend most of the day together on these topics. So I am aware that it's going to be a sort of fast and furious breakfast and learn on the way through as we look at some of the concepts around leadership, which I am just absolutely passionate about. And you can never learn enough. And there isn't a magical toolbox, because the magical toolbox is you. And that is, of course, always evolving. So what am I going to do with you for the next hour and a half? Well, play with your minds. To explore the concept of leadership, I've been asked to discuss with you some principles, but more importantly, can we get some strategies on how can we manage our colleagues, our team members, who may or may not be performing well. And can I present you with some strategies that will help you to increase, most importantly, cooperation and productivity will be the byproduct of your team's contribution and how you work. So I'm starting with a concept called authentic leadership. I'm going to ask a question. I may have been asked to talk, but so have you. What do you think authentic leadership is? Genuine? Genuine. Being genuine? What else?
Sticking to your principles.
True to yourself.
Sticking to your principles. Now that's a big one, isn't it? I know what you mean, but does it have the same meaning for everyone sitting here? What else does it mean, authentic leadership?
Transparent.
Oh, there's my favourite word. What does transparency mean at work?
Everyone can see what's going on, know what's going on.
Understand why.
And understand, yeah. Your intent and motive and agenda. What else is authentic leadership?
When you develop trust, when people trust you, so when that transparency thing, so when they're telling you how it is, and you can trust that that's exactly how it is.
Trust is critical. Absolutely one of the pillars of authentic leadership. What else? What other capabilities? If you were to be called an authentic leader, what else would they be saying about you? What characteristics how would they describe you?
Engaging.
You're engaging.
Communication,
Good communication. What else?
Fair and consistent.
Fair and consistent. Bring out the big guns. Yeah, we can't play favourites. And we do. I'm going to talk about the self-fulfilling prophecy a little bit in a moment. What else do you think, though? Capabilities of authentic leaders. Give me two more.
Being able to look after yourself while you're being that leader, because sometimes it's the stress factor will come out of you, and you'll say and do things that perhaps you don't mean to.
You'll turn human.
But you are human. Yeah.
No, you cannot be human. Well, actually, you can. So, what is authentic leadership? I summarised on page 7 of your learner resource for you. I'm going to read the text in black. And it says there that in the world of authentic leadership, transparency matters. So you nailed it with the word transparency. Authentic leaders drive from openness and create trust, well done, enabling others to achieve full potential. Colleagues form personal opinions of us from their day-to-day interactions with us, and it is at the crossroads of impression management and actual observable behaviour that they formulate or confirm their perceptions of your leadership. So you did right, it's how you come across, but we must be transparent and authentic. So if we were to build a model on what does authentic leadership look like, the biggest pillar is self-awareness, understanding you. And the research says that there are some triggering moments in our work life and in our personal life that start to shape and form what authentic leadership means to us, what our principles are, and how we will behave. Transparency, balanced processing. What does that mean? Crazy phrase. We've sort of kind of discussed it before, a little bit along the lines. What do you think balanced processing is?
It's got to be fair and equal to everyone. And
Fair and equal, well researched and making a decision or opinion, you know, a nice balanced objective judgment. Role modelling. What does role modelling mean?
Lead by example.
Lead by example. Now, who can truthfully put a hand up and say, MJ, I haven't done anything wrong or been naughty in the last 3 weeks at work? Any hands going up? Oh, you're tragic leaders. There's the big one. There's the big one. So ethical moral behaviour, again going back to the comment before around principles. What I may consider ethical and moral behaviour may be slightly different. And it depends upon lots of facets of my personality and trigger life events that I've been through that shapes that in me. Good corporate citizenship. What on earth does that mean? What does that mean? I missed that one. Not going to say that out loud?
you support the institution, or you understand the culture of the institution and support it in the way you practice.
Perfect, you nailed it. Well done. High five. Coming at you. You are managing up your organisation. You would never do or say anything negative concerning your colleagues, your brand, what you do, and the organisation in itself. Now, can you, yes, I was going to say, can you put your hand up if you've had good... So there's a lot to authentic leadership, and unfortunately, it all comes from the inside. You're the one that's got to do the work on it to grow and develop you. So self-awareness is our first key pillar. So I want to speed read with you a fantastic book by one of the gurus of mine that I just love, Stephen Covey. I love his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That is my Bible. And then his other books as he goes on to pursue leadership. One of them is The Speed of Trust. You told me that trust is one of the key pillars of authentic leadership. So what do we have to do to get trust? He likens it to a wave. It's a ripple. It's a ripple effect. And there's 5 levels or layers to the ripple. And the first one, as you can see, starts with self. So we've got to go back to doing the hard work. There is no magical toolbox. So I've given you some detailed information I clearly don't want to read with you this morning on page 10 that outlines what those waves are. So when we start by looking at self, it's all about building your credibility. How are you perceived by your colleagues, your team? It then ripples out to relationship trust. Relationships are built on consistent behaviour. From there it will cascade into the organisational trust, cascade out again, how is your organisation perceived in the marketplace, and what are you doing or giving back to society on the way through. So let's have a little look at self, because that's where we need to start. Covey says that there are 13 key behaviours of a high trust leader. So if you want your colleagues to perceive you as an authentic, fabulous leader, you must hit all of these 13 core behaviours consistently. I think that's the hard part. Consistently. And he uses the analogy of a tree. I quite like this. I think it's a nice way of looking at it. He separates it into, there are 2 core factors that make up your leadership capabilities. One part of you is your character. He calls that your character. The other part of you is made up of your competence, your talents and abilities and skills. And when he looks or breaks down these behaviours into 13 key factors, 5 of them, he says, are focused on your character, 5 on your competence, and then there's another 3 that you really can't separate it. They're embedded, they're blended, they synergise together. So if we read through these ones here, character, to do with you, straight talk, demonstrate respect, create transparency in your team, right your wrongs, and show loyalty. Can I ask you to reflect on, and I want you to have a chat with your colleague sitting next to you, reflect on create transparency. Can you think of an example in the last month where you did not create transparency? And maybe it wasn't intentionally. You didn't do it for evil, but time pressures, resource pressures, for whatever reason, your team didn't feel you were transparent. Can you discuss with your colleague what happened to the relationships and the productivity that week, fortnight or month? Have a chatter for me. Okay. That was enough of a chatter. Can I ask, has somebody got a great example that they'd be brave enough to share with me? What happened in your team when you didn't create transparency?
Communication breakdown and a loss of productivity.
Okay, so it's 100% correlation between transparency and productivity, and gossip, and backstabbing, and all sorts of dreadful things that will land you in hospital. What else happened?
I think trust.
Broke the trust.
I think they don't feel as happy in their workplace as well if they don't feel as though you're being transparent with them.
Absolutely. You start to feel, where do I belong? Why am I here? Is this against my principles? I can't respect my manager or this person. How can I trust? The big T word again. I really think that transparency, if you wanted to focus on a key 1% goal, transparency builds trust quickly. And being open and honest with an intent, motive, agenda is the most critical thing you can do. Deliver results. Let's sneak up to a competency-based one. Who failed to deliver a result in the last 3 weeks? Bless you for your honesty. What's the result when we fail to deliver a result? What happens?
Frustration.
Frustration by who?
Well, from
Yourself.
For you?
Yeah.
For the team.
For the
On
team?
both sides, up and down.
It's all over, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's all round. So I really think you must focus on delivering results. And this is where we go, oh my gosh, I'm being bullied at work. They're making me perform. They're telling me that I'm not doing my job. They're putting this pressure on me. If we don't have results, the productivity pillar falls over. The transparency pillar falls over. Everything falls over. It's almost like results is a dirty word. Unfortunately, in a playground called an organisation, results matter because there is a ripple effect that's felt. Who failed to clarify expectations with somebody in the last month? Oh gosh, I've got to stop playing this game. You're all winners. Why? Why did you fail to clarify your expectations?
Either your understanding wasn't there, or, the people you deal with higher up didn't give you a clear picture of what was expected.
Ah,
Yeah.
beautiful. Yep.
And so you let down your team.
You did the best that you could. There was no evil intention, but we had a bit of wave, bit of white water, bit of noise.
Very much.
Didn't quite make it across.
In time, sometimes you just rush the conversation and don't wait for the questions and the answers.
Or you perceive that they knew what you meant. You perceive that everyone followed the procedure. Yeah. Gosh, we've got to be very, very, very careful with that one. So I've got a concept that we're going to head to in a moment around that one. Who's failed to listen? Sneak up to the top three. Who hasn't listened attentively? I think that's my crush. I have to slap myself every day around that one. Am I truly listening to understand, or am I getting ready to answer, or am I too busy? Have I got poor communication skills going on? So if you need to build trust with your team, you've got 13 arrows you've got to fire. And all 13 have to hit. And you've got to hit consistently for that high trust behaviour to happen. So I want to talk about a concept on how we lose trust and lead us up to the theory of the self-fulfilling prophecy. I have this in your learner resource on page 20 for you. Page 20 has this diagram. And I think it's important that, and I know you know this, but sometimes it's important just to have a conscious think about it. If we have a look at this graph, what it shows us is, we start off as a leader or a colleague in a team, and we're going along and we're doing really well, we're delivering results, and therefore the trust in us is building. Then all of a sudden I turn human. I have a tantrum, nappy change aisle 5, as I like to say. Something terrible happened and I was just human for a moment in front of my team. And all of a sudden, some of those team members, not all, because we have different types of relationships. Some understand that was MJ having a tantrum, don't panic, she'll fix herself up, she'll be right in a minute. But to others, I've absolutely traumatised them. They're like, I've got no idea what I just saw. There were horns coming out that woman's head. And so what happens in their brain is I go from this fantastic, achieving, wonderful colleague down to, oh my God, I don't ever want to experience that again. She's tragic. Then slowly I come back in and say, I'm so sorry. You've got no idea what happened that day. It was this, this and this. I really apologise. For some people, okay, I accept it. Up goes the trust. For other people, it's like, thank you. And they'll be nice to my face. But underneath here they're going, that was the worst lion I have ever seen, and there's no way I'm going to start. I'm going to build my barriers and make sure my wall is up. This is when the productivity goes down, transparency's down. No way, don't you smile at me, MJ. I saw those horns come out. You're evil. And they're waiting, aren't they? They're waiting for my behaviour to change again. So if I accidentally turn human, what do I have to do to build my credibility back up? Straight talk. Now that's tough for some of us in a leadership position. I see the word behind me. Confidentiality. And the higher up the leadership ladder you go, the more privy to information you become that you cannot necessarily share all of the time. But if you are transparent, open and honest and authentic on the majority of occasions, your team will believe you and understand you and work with you, not against you. So I must straight talk. I must listen for understanding. There's my challenge. I must make my commitments and keep them. If I do that, I'm called reliable. If I'm known as reliable and I consistently do that, people start to trust that MJ is a nice bloke or blokeette. And finally, up comes the big word of, gee, I respect her. She's a really good colleague, manager, leader on the way through. So why, actually before I do that, I'm going to go back to here. I put the self-fulfilling prophecy in your book, but I didn't pop it up on the slide because it gets a bit too detailed. Have a look at page 22 and 23 is where we're going to review that together. Now, the self-fulfilling prophecy, there's two sides to it. We have one called the Pygmalion effect, and we have one called the Golem effect. We're going to start with the Pygmalion. Starting at the top of the circle. So I've got young Sally in the circle, and let's say I'm her manager. And my assumption of Sally is my most capable member of my team. She's my rising star. Gosh, I love her. She's fabulous. My behaviour towards Sally, I will assign her interesting project work. I'm going to praise her for her job's well done and give her extra support. Sally's perception of me, or her perception of her job rather, I'm working on some stimulating projects. I'm receiving great support from MJ, my manager. I have a real sense of purpose. MJ values my talents and recognises how I contribute to this team. Her behaviour, therefore, is I am proactive in my approach. I'm committed. I'm enthusiastic about the work I'm given. I seek advice from MJ as I need it. And MJ's conclusion as Sally's manager is, oh my gosh, I'm so right. Sally is proactive. She has the attributes of a future leader of my team. Thank God I have Sally. May I please have 10 more? Is what I think, isn't it? Uh-oh, here's Harry. Poor Harry. My assumption of Harry is lazy. He never takes initiative and he needs to be constantly supervised. So my behaviour is I'm going to tell Harry exactly what to do. I'm going to check up on him, and the term that gets called is micromanage. Harry goes, MJ is always checking up on me like a police person. MJ doesn't think I can do anything on my own. She thinks I'm not capable. I will avoid MJ entirely and wait for MJ to tell me what to do. And MJ goes, oh my God, I'm right. Harry is a loser. Oh, I mean he's lazy. He takes no initiative. He's a nincompoop. I will micromanage Harry so he doesn't affect my results. Oh dear. Have you got a Sally and a Harry?
Yep.
How do you treat Harry? What do we call treating someone differently?
Discrimination.
Do you know what? That's what we're doing to Harry. We mustn't do that to Harry. I know we do it. But if we want authentic leadership, Harry needs to be helped up or out. But that's not cool for Harry. So in your journey of your 13 leadership behaviours, you need to have a little self-check-in on Sally Harry. And double check that you are not accidentally discriminating. And then what do we do to Sally? We give her extra. We give her extra work. Because Sally will do it for us. Poor Sally. Sally has a breakdown, Harry has a holiday. It's true. It's true. So look, I put this up there. Why do we let porcupines stay on our team and take home the same money as our performers? And I use the word porcupine. I was told I'm allowed to be a little bit cheeky. I use the term porcupine because there's a prick on every team. Why do we let porcupines stay? Say again? Okay, they're too difficult to remove. Okay, so hence why I'm going to head to a strategy that may help us. How to remove a porcupine. Has anybody heard of the Studer Group program, High, Middle, Low? This is amazing. It is a licensed program. Armidale Hospital run it. I really urge you to see if you can get the program running for you and your teams if you would like it. We're going to do a 15-minute overview of it. Now this is an all-day program with role plays and video clips and fantastic things throughout it. So all I can do is introduce you to the concept, and if you like it, I urge you. speak to Jackie Aguirre at Armidale Hospital, if you like, is the one that I certainly know that I facilitate this down there for them. I love this concept. I had never heard this concept until around 3 years ago. And I went, oh my gosh, why is the universe not adopting this? It's a healthcare concept. It came out of America, a gentleman called Quint Studer. So hence it's a Studer group. Now Quint saved, miraculously, the healthcare industry in America. He did it in the private industry first, and then when the public industry saw that happening, they adopted it as well. And his model for managing performance is high, middle, low. View your people as high, middle, low, and apply the appropriate strategy depending upon their performance. So let's speed read it together. He perceives that there is a curve in our organisation of people. We have a percentage, and it's probably only a couple in our team, who sit up in the really high performers. If you're fortunate enough, you may have 2 or 3 high performers sitting on your team. And usually in a team there's a porcupine. Hopefully there's one. Oh, bad day at the office and we've got 3. But usually you'll find on most teams there's one porcupine sitting there. Now we need to do 1 or 2 things first. We need to ascertain, is it a skills and knowledge issue? Because that doesn't make them a porcupine, okay? Let me make that very, very clear. Somebody with a skills and knowledge deficit is a gorgeous human being who needs to be grown and developed by their leader. The porcupine is the person who, through, dare I say, no fault of their own? Oh, I'd make a terrible counsellor because I think it is their fault. But they have chosen to be negative. They have chosen to be combative. They have chosen their behaviours which are against the principles that the majority of the team adheres to. And hence they're labelled the porcupine, okay? So let me make that really clear. It's not a gorgeous human who needs to be grown because they've got a deficit in skills and knowledge. The majority of the team sits in the middle. All take home the same pay packet. How does the high performer feel that, there's no Harrys in the room? Okay, let's call our porcupine Harry then. I don't want to be beaten up in the corridor by Harry on the way out and said, did my manager speak to you? So how do we feel when Harry takes home the same pay as Sally, if we're the Sallys? I know what you said then. Yeah. And how does Sally feel about her manager who's giving Harry the same money? It's not fair, right? And fairness equaled authentic leadership, so Sally thinks her manager's pretty crappy. The manager's going, I love Sally. Sally's going, you're really not that good. But let me smile, because you pay my wage. That's where I think it's really critical that it's not okay. It's not okay to go, ooh, they're so difficult, I must let them just hibernate and live. So what do? All right, here's the difference in this model. Who do you spend most of your time managing? Sally or Harry? Harry. You bunch of losers. Quint says you've got it wrong. You are investing all of your time in your porcupine and you are not encouraging your Sallys. You're ridiculous. Spend your first conversation, so this is about having performance conversations. Have your first performance conversations with the Sallys. And move the Sally. Move her. So that her behaviour is going to go from here to here. There'll be a gap. She'll transition up. So now we've got a gap for our middle performers, who can start to be grown and developed and coached and loved and mentored up to the Sally level. What happens to the porcupine?
Left behind or doesn't want to get left behind?
They're left behind. And the gap becomes pretty damn obvious. Because the middle and the high performers are feeling gorgeous about you, their leader. MJ's having wonderful conversations with me. MJ's investing time in me. MJ's growing me. I matter to MJ, this team and this organisation. I'm part of a winning team. High performers need to feel that the work that they are doing is worthwhile. Otherwise, they will decrease their performance and get an outside hobby and give back to the community, some group, volunteer. They'll find a way to feel the nurturing inside that they need. Because a high performer will say, if that's what Harry takes home, I'll put my effort where it's appreciated. Does that make sense? Okay, and this is why it's so sad for our Sallys. So talk to Sallys, then move our middle ones up. Very uncomfortable gap now for our porcupine. What will the porcupine now try and do? They're going to complain. What's the first thing a porcupine cries? I've been bullied. Love you, thank you for saying that loud and clear. Okay, do you know what? They've said that their whole life. They've manifested it. Oops. Well, why don't you think about changing your behaviour? So they're going to absolutely 100% claim bullying. That's the only way they can keep their paycheck. They can't keep a paycheck based upon performance. They're not doing it. Therefore, they have to call you a lousy manager and they have to claim bullying. Now, that's an interesting process as a leader or a manager to take somebody through. And it's going to take you how long? A year. Yeah. It'll take you 6 months if you were lucky, 9 months on an average, 12 months if it's really awful. And how do you, the manager, feel for 6 months, 9 months, 12 months? Stressed, terrible, okay? And so to be an authentic leader, it takes a spine. It takes guts. It takes commitment. And it takes somebody who is anchored into their principles and go, do you know what? It is not okay for Harry to behave the way he's behaving and to take home the pay that Sally takes home. Sally doesn't think I'm a good leader. For the rest of my team, for my credibility, I'm going to learn how to manage Harry. Because it's not going to be fun and it's not going to be easy. So how do we have these conversations? All right. We move Sally. So we move Sally by telling her that the organisation is a winner, our team's winning, we're really doing amazing work. Winners stay on winning teams. So you must manage up your team, your organisation, the work that you're doing. Because Sally only works for winning teams. Thank them for their work. And not just a gee, thanks, Sal, you're a cool kid. We're going to talk about 1 minute praise in a moment. You need to be specific. Outline why they're so important to the team, how they're contributing, mentoring, training, coaching, leading, guiding, inspiring. You know, really think about the words over a cup of coffee before you talk to her. What are the things that Sally really does contribute to the team, and let her know? And then ask, Sally, is there anything I can do for you? Because if you don't satisfy Sally, she's going to move elsewhere. Why? Because you're not talking to her, because you're talking to Harry. All right, so that's how we move it. How long in a real world would it take to have that conversation with Sally? Say again?
A couple of minutes.
Oh, I like a good cup of coffee. It could be a bit hot to start with. 15? 15 minutes, okay? It's really not a week and a packed lunch. It's achievable. And remember, you've usually only got 1, 2, 3 if you're so lucky. Wow. You know, gee, 45 minutes. How much do you get paid to manage people? Take 45 and do it. So now what happens is we can now move our middle performers. How do we do that? Now, I saw that this wasn't in your booklet, my apology, or it wasn't in mine when I looked at it last night. To move a middle performer. Okay, how do we feel when we know the boss is going to have a performance conversation with us? We start to feel what? Okay, start by saying, gee, Samantha, Charlotte, let's call it Charlotte, it's too close to Sally. Gee, Charlotte, you are an amazing employee and you're so valued on this team. I'm so glad that you're with me, and I really hope that you're with us in another 3 years, because your growth and development over the next 3 years is critical. You're integral to our team. So reassure them that their space is secure. Support them, thank them for what they do. Again, being specific, I'll go into that in a moment, I'll just let that fly. Then, middle performers need to grow. We've got to get them up to Sally's. Charlotte needs to become Sally. So there is a grow model that you can do with them. You need to set the goals and help them with the development strategies, the on-the-job coaching, mentoring and support. So outline for them what you're going to do. And you need to have had your cup of coffee and thought about that. How do I grow and develop, Charlotte? And then tie it all off again by thanking them, supporting them, and doing your lovely conversations. You really are critical to our team. So looking forward to working with you over the next 3 years. So it is almost that sort of sandwich, isn't it? And it's one of the okay times to use it, because we don't need to discipline Charlotte. We need to reassure, coach, grow and develop, and reassure and thank genuinely for what they've done. How long do you think that conversation takes with Charlotte's? Yeah, look, an hour? Ooh, you've had 2 coffees. I think when you see it in the workshop and you see real live interviews going on, that one actually took about 10 minutes. I thought it was a bit quick. I'd settle for a hotter cup of coffee. Again, you're only talking 15, 20 minutes. You're not talking 1 hour with each employee. Oh my gosh, this is too hard to do. So now, this takes us, the whole organisational team performance has moved. Your mediums are firing. Your high performers have stretched. They're moving. Now our poor old porcupine is sitting there. The other thing, going back to what does a porcupine do? They claim bullying, for sure. The second thing they have to do, they have to try and grab onto the bottom of the middles. They've got to try and find some people on that lower edge to go, gee, MJ's full of nonsense, isn't she? Have you ever heard such rubbish as what's been going on in the last couple of weeks? They've got to bag things. They've got to try and get the unstable bottom edge to come back over to the dark side. But if, as the manager, I've had the right conversations with these people, how are they feeling? How are my middle and highs feeling? Valued, focused, happy, clear goals. They can see something in it for them. So there's no, they're going to go, loser. No way, I'm not coming back to the dark side. So the poor old porcupine really gets isolated and really starts to demonstrate some poor behaviour. And quite often that's absenteeism, isn't it? Sure, thank goodness for that. Right, how do we have a conversation with a porcupine? This is very, very foreign for the majority of you in healthcare, because usually you're nice. That's why I can't work in healthcare. I don't have empathy and understanding and sympathy. I'm like, no, you're right. Go to the edge of the cliff. Let me push. So what you have to do, you cannot be happy. You are not happy with Harry. Let me just remind you, be a good drunk and repeat myself, as I like to say. We're talking about a Harry who is not a gorgeous individual with a need for growth and development, okay? We're talking about Harry's had plenty of opportunity. You've done informal conversations with Harry, you've coached Harry, you've sent him to training, you've done everything, yeah? So we're absolutely at D-Day. You've been gorgeous the whole way through, so it's not that you just turned horrible in 1 minute. Don't be positive at all. Describe what has been observed. You must be specific about his behaviour. How often has he been late, throwing files, been rude, missed appointments? Be specific. Have your evidence around that. You're all used to that. Evaluate how you feel. I feel disappointed, Harry. I feel frustrated. I feel that you've hijacked the team. I feel that team results are hijacked by your performance. The team's feeling let down. I'm feeling let down. Show Harry what needs to be done. You must have given Harry very clear outline, description, process, procedure, whatever it is, of exactly what needs to be done. Show him how it needs to be done.
That's where the problem lies.
That you're not showing him.
Well, you're not there to see it all, so it's your staff telling you what's happening, and they often aren't prepared to confront that
To
or
confront
do
it
anything
because it's not
about
their
it.
job.
And then you haven't got enough evidence, because then that person will say, no, I didn't do it.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
what I did.
So we need to try
It's getting
and
that-
transfer the accountability for the growth of Harry across to someone else, so that Harry knows that Bruce is going to be assisting his growth plan. But we're past a growth plan anyway. Look, Harry's got to know the consequences. So Harry must know in 7 days, Harry, I'm going to pull the report on, or I'm going to receive the feedback from the team on whatever it may be, measurements, objective measurements to show Harry's behaviour. Now Harry's going to try and hijack that meeting, because that's what they do, they talk their way out. So we have to say, Harry, I will listen to what you have to say, I need you to be quiet for a moment, I'm going to get through this conversation with you, and then you have to write a reply. We've got to pin Harry down. Now remember, Harry spent his whole life talking his way out of things and becoming so difficult that no one wants to touch him. Okay? That's how they survive. It's the only way they keep a paycheck. Now I don't say that with evil. I don't think poorly of Harry. I'm so glad that I've chosen not to behave like a Harry. But I don't pass judgment on Harry. But it's not okay for Harry to take home the same money as Sally. It's not okay for Harry to hijack a team. It's not okay for Harry to be dysfunctional in a team environment. Harry's got issues. He needs help. And I don't want to be his therapist. So you've got to move Harry up or out. Okay. Clearly, that is a little snapshot of an all day. And you need to try it. You've got to have those conversations and really feel it. The one thing that is important, that you don't start writing down lists of who's my low performer, who's my middle performer, who's my high performer. Okay, because see this word here? No, we don't have those bits of paper running around. But it helps you to anchor in, I find, helps you to anchor in on going, well, hang on, am I really being an authentic leader? Am I being transparent? Am I delivering results? Or am I allowing the porcupine to stay? Yes.
When Harry has absolutely no insight into the repercussions of his behaviour and awards himself A's and 5s for every part of a performance appraisal.
Oh, I have a whole nother program on that. My favourite phrase is, how interesting. So if Harry gave himself an A, I would go, how interesting, Harry. Could you describe for me where you demonstrated that in the last 3 weeks? How interesting. And it genuinely is. My word, I'm absolutely black white. How? Please describe. How funny. And it's, look, I find those conversations absolutely insightful. It's like the comedy hour. And I'm able to have those conversations because I know I'm quite grounded. I know Harry's white and he's telling me black. So there's no need for me to get angry or fired up because I'm the sane one. Well, and so for me it is, how interesting, please. And so I'm using a lot of reflective questioning, behavioural techniques to have poor old Harry absolutely self-explore. And I've worked with a lot of people who have no self-awareness. I can't judge them for that. It's not my role on this earth to pass judgment on Harry. If the horse doesn't want to drink, there's a phrase, you know. So Harry needs self-awareness. Harry needs self-awareness, but he may not be ready, he may not be capable, he may not be open to it. There's 101 reasons, and that's okay. Harry can be Harry, but he can't be on my team. Because I respect the Sallys and the Charlottes and the Bruces and the Freds and the Berts and the everyone else, and I can't spend my time invested in Harry, because authentic leadership says, I want to grow and develop and move other people.
I was just going to ask if with this man and how he said he did this in the
Quint?
Quint in the private sector and then in the public, does he talk about the differences and the challenges?
No, they're the same. They're the same. In the real world, absolutely, private will move you quicker. We have a little bit more of a budget to remove, and we have our organisational procedures are such that there is not so much right for appeal, arbitration, mitigation. Okay, so it is slightly shorter, but the process is identical. It's just, can the manager go through the pain? But you know what? There's a Harry on every team. So you might as well learn to deal with them. And then what happens to your reputation on the ground? You become known as
Consistent, reliable.
top manager. Don't try and put it on. And Harry's not going to come on your team. Harry does not want to be transferred to your team. So once you get known as somebody who is a really genuine, amazing leader, Harry's not going to work for you anyway. Okay to move? Awesome. How awesome is that concept? Oh, I've spent years going, let's tackle Harry. No, let's move the organisational performance and Harry can't handle it. Great. Awesome concept.
MJ, can I just say that's I've had a big interest in students for many years, and actually that concept can be applied for anybody who has a student. That we can't always say that you're going to have there is a Harry with every student as well as there's a. But the problem is when you're new yourself, or you're fairly or you're not that experienced to be able to do that. That's a very good concept to actually identify from the beginning. How am I going to work?
I agree.
The really high achiever or the middle of the road, but wasting a lot of time on the one who just doesn't want to be there. That's when you've got to have the guts to say to the other university or whatever, this person is not going to do it. So that's a really great concept as well if you're dealing with students.
Bless you. There's another little concept, a 1 minute concept that I'll throw in there. There's a great book called Good to Great by Jack Welch. He uses an analogy of a bus. And what he says is, when you have a great leader, when people are on the bus, it doesn't matter where the bus is going with a great leader, because you will adapt and evolve and deal with wherever the bus ends up. Sometimes people sit on the wrong seat in the bus. And some leaders are not smart enough to recognise that they're just in the wrong seat. It's not that they're a Harry. They're in the wrong seat. He actually thinks that you can move people 5 times to help them find their right seat. Then throw them off. So be careful with Harry. be careful with Harry. I mean, it sounds like, oh, playing back this videotape, I'm going to sound like I'm terrible. But I'm genuinely talking about that person who just doesn't want to be a team player on your team. So please move them. Make sure that the student, might just be that the student's not got the wrong learning styles, there's a whole plethora of reasons. But absolutely, if you know you've got a Harry, you do not invest your energy in Harry. You grow. You grow people.
Yeah, and in that way then people are often reluctant to have students. If they feel that they have that power to look at middle and high performers, then they're more willing to take on students.
And it just helps you desensitise, doesn't it? It desensitises due to that, I find. Okay, yeah. It's not that I'm being horrible to Harry. Harry's very fairly being paid the same amount of money. I'm actually discriminating against Sally and Charlotte. And that's who I should be caring about. And I should care about being an authentic leader.
Can I just comment?
Yes, please.
It's got to be very careful and clearly document everything.
100%.
It's a situation that happened, and a manager on my board was trying to performance manage someone who was quite disruptive.
Yes.
And she ended up laying a claim of bullying.
Yes. All porcupines will. All porcupines 100% will. So when we're dealing with a porcupine, the first people we've spoken to is HR. We've spoken to HR before we've spoken to Harry. because Harry's going to go to HR 5 minutes after your meeting. So HR already know, and in fact you should have role played with HR because you're not an expert at this. And you need to, and that's why I say it's a whole day program. For goodness sake, don't go out and tackle Harry after this.
I just have a question. What happens if Harry, it's well known, so it's not just you, but it's well known that Harry is Harry, and Harry is either on par or above you?
Interesting. How interesting. We have to learn skills on that one around managing up. So we have to go beside, under, over or through him and managing up. Circle of influence. You've got to manage what you can manage. But anyone who's going to get in the way of your 13 core behaviours of authentic leadership, you have to find a strategy to deal with. Because just because they're above you, they should not stop you delivering results. Just because they're above you, they must not stop you being transparent. You are who you are and you are authentic. Don't ever let another human stop you. It's so ridiculous. You must find the way. Now, if you can't, then you should move out. Always be authentic to yourself. But there are very, very few situations where you can't manage up or around to find an appropriate solution. Is it easy? No. Unless you're an anaesthetist and just put put him to sleep.
Good idea.
So, what happens when we use the student group is the whole organisational behaviour and performance shifts. And we've gone up. We need to be a little bit careful though, because some new barriers start to come up when the team becomes high performing, and you need to be mindful of that on the way through. I'm aware that that was just 30 minutes of an all-day program, so please keep that in context and don't go out and run over Harry and make a roadkill. So let me ask this, why don't employees do what they're supposed to do? Why don't they?
They don't understand what they have to do.
They don't understand. Why else?
They don't agree.
They don't agree, or it's against their principles and
They don't see the consequences.
they don't see the consequences, so they're not accountable. Why else?
There may be outside factors that impinge on them actually being able to perform well.
Could be. I'll give you that. Won't slap you. What about I asked you all to put your hand up? Could it just be that you're a crap manager?
Yeah.
It could have been that we fell short as well on the way through. So one of my other gurus, love him to death, Ken Blanchard, 1 Minute Manager. If you have not read the book, The 1 Minute Manager, would you do yourself a favour? Go and read that book. It's a great little fable. It's written as a story. Absolutely amazing. I love simple, stupid. I can't remember anything in this brain, so let's keep it simple. 3 concepts. You need to start setting 1 minute goals. Once you've set the 1 minute goal, if they're doing it, give them 1 minute praise. If they're not doing, give a 1 minute reprimand. So, let's have a little look. Knowing where you're going is the first step to getting there. This is why a lot of employees don't do what they're meant to do, because they didn't mind read you. You cheeky little devils. How interesting. They didn't mind read you. So the best minute I spend is the one that I invest in people. So spend a minute and set 1 minute goals. How do you do this? It's in your book. Agree on your goals that you want, and then write each goal on a page using less than 250 words. Oh God, that's too much for my brain. I just try and use the SMART principle. Make sure I'm being specific, achievable, relevant, timely. Okay? And be very clear. If they have to write down what I want them to do, there's a higher probability that they're not going to do it. So if I can't remember what it is I want them to do and we have to write it down, gee whiz. So I try and shorten it. But if it is a bit more complicated, which in some of your instances it may well be, keep it less than 250 words. Read and reread each goal. This should take about a minute. Take a minute out of your day every once in a while to look at your performance as a manager. and see if your behaviour matches your goals. Have you talked poorly about the organisation? Have you talked poorly about a colleague? Have you been late? Did you go on Facebook when you shouldn't have been? Lord, have a look at your performance as well. So set your 1 minute goal with your colleague. How long in the real world does it take to set a 1 minute goal? Oh, you fell for it. Less than a minute. It's less than a minute. Yeah, 30 seconds. To be clear and specific on what it is you want them to do. So do a 1 minute goal with every person, every day, every shift. Okay? That's your role. Then, if they're doing it, give them praise. Why? People who feel good about themselves produce a good result. If you're happy, they're happy, work's happy, home's happy. Home's not happy, work's not happy. Okay, everything's interlinked. People don't want to come to work and be, oh look, I didn't bring it today, but I have a salmon that I slap people with, the stuffed salmon. You know, we don't want to come to work to be hit with the salmon. It's just not fun. And that's what it feels like sometimes, doesn't it? Bang, bang, here comes another one, done it wrong again. So you want to be building them up because people who feel good about themselves will do that same behaviour again. Help people reach their full potential. Charlotte's, Sally's, Fred's and Bruce's. Man, your job is to grow and develop people. Do that. Catch them doing something right and let them know. But we have to be specific. Here's the difference. Who in the last shift said to their team, great work? You losers. Don't be doing that ever again. You must eyeball me and be specific. Which part of the last 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours that I just worked was the great job for you? All right, stop your blanket statements. We've got to get absolutely specific. The manner in which you dealt with Mrs. Smith was absolutely incredible. She is such a difficult character. You calmed her down in 5 minutes. You listened attentively. I was so proud of you. Please do more of that, because if we have that behaviour going on, we'll have happy clients, happy, healthy clients and raving fans. I can't thank you enough. Awesome job with Mrs. Smith. Tie it into something. They did something right, yeah? You paid them. Find the good bits and tell them. Let them feel how good that feels and let them feel how happy you feel about it. Ooze. Now, have a look at this. I love this bit. You can clearly tell that this comes out of the sort of 80s when you're allowed to touch people. He says touch them appropriately. Now look, there'll be relationships where you know it's okay, maybe you might just have to go nod and smile. But really genuinely feel it and they will feel it back. So a lot of people, particularly when we get to our next slide on communication styles, if you're a turtle you're like, I don't like praise and people touching me. The majority of the universe does. So if you go, oh my God, there's no way I could ooze praise at somebody, that would just be foreign. You've got an issue and you need to develop your self-awareness. Because people like to be told that they've done a good job. And there's a difference between being fake. I'm not saying be fake. I'm saying be very genuine, and the way they dealt with Mrs. Smith genuinely deserved to be acknowledged. If it's not genuine, don't give it. You only give 1 minute praise. But if they took home a paycheck, they should have done something right in 8 hours. Find it. Okay, maybe you've got a bit of a porcupine. So the goal that you set for them will begin their behaviour. They'll know what they're focusing on. But how you deal with them, the consequence will maintain their behaviour. If you say nothing, how many of you have felt, oh, well, nobody cares, why should I bother? Okay, too many smiles at me. It's the same thing. So, and also, when you do something wrong and you don't get pulled up, what do you think? No one died? Do it again. Okay? No, we can't have that. The consequence will maintain the behaviour. So giving them feedback, letting them know how they're going is the best thing that you can do, even if that feedback is negative, because everyone else is talking about them. So how do we give a reprimand? You've got to be specific again. I do love one client who says to his team members, you were crap today, could you be less crap tomorrow? almost, but not quite right, for a 1 minute reprimand. We need to be specific. So you need to say, when you told Mrs. Smith to bugger off, that was against our code of conduct. Language like that is inappropriate in this team and I really don't want to hear it. Or, Bruce, when I heard you talking about Fred in the coffee room and the fact that he didn't follow procedure on shift, I felt really uncomfortable. To me, I interpreted that you were gossiping about him behind his back. I think that's a poor team quality. Can you please go and have that discussion with Fred if there's a problem? Otherwise, I really don't think it's appropriate to talk about one of your colleagues when they're not present. You need to be specific. Why do we go, oh, can't have that conversation? It's crazy, isn't it? And particularly in healthcare, trained to be nice. See, someone like me, I love it. So when you put it all together, you start with your 1 minute goal. Make sure it's clear. If they do it, then you give them praise, lots of it. If they don't do it, you've got to reprimand. And this is how you get on top of your Harrys. This is your start. You're doing all of this with Harry way before Harry becomes a porcupine, you see. Because people don't do things because they don't know what's expected of them. Can't get clearer than that. Love that book, read it. Okay, I think this will be my last concept with you. Has anybody done a disc profile? Hand up in the back row. Only one. Okay. If you want to develop self-awareness, when I'm working with Harry's, I use DISC. DISC is a licensed product. There is a little rip-off of DISC called the Communication Jungle. So when we look at DISC, DISC is the most used, one of the most used behavioural assessment tools by the Fortune 500 companies. Again, it's used within Armidale. Their colour scheme to DISC within Armidale, they use one of the different providers, is a little bit different. But it's the same concept, different colours. So because it's licensed, you end up with about a 30-page report on you. So valuable, it's incredible. It's about $145 a profile out there in the real world. I don't know what the hospitals get their profiles at. But it'd be worthwhile researching into that if you would like to get that done for you. So DISC says this, and it led forward from William Marsden's teachings and theories and principles that there is observable behaviour in people, whether we like it or not. And it's our natural behaviour. So if we were to strand everyone on an island, there'd be 4 distinct subsets of behaviour that would come popping up in this room. Some of us would be quite forceful and direct and say, there's one goal, guys, we're getting off this island, that's it, pay attention, get on it, stop your nattering, you terrible peacocks. Just focus on getting off the island. There'll be another group of us, so that's the lion. There'll be another group of us, the peacocks, and we'll go, oh my God, what a great island. I remember the bikini. Who saved the vodka? Look at the coconuts, start the party. Okay, and we're just happy, lovable, gorgeous, gregarious idiots. We love it. Is it about me? Then we come across and we have the gorgeous dove. And the doves would be going, oh, let's just have a little group hug together. We've just had a tragedy. Is everyone feeling okay? Oh, I'm sensing a bit of conflict. I really didn't mean to push you under the water. I'm so sorry about that, you know. Oh, please like me. Then we have our turtles, and the turtles go, anyone got an Excel spreadsheet on an electronic device? What is the circumference of this island? How many coconuts do we have? And I like to make fun of them and call them anal. They're anal. They see things I can't see because I'm a peacock. Go and look at me. Best plumage in the jungle. You know? And the turtles are so precise. Oh my God, they're amazing. Accurate, high detail, incredible people. I've got the attention span of a fly. And they can do long, detailed work. You know, I'm half asleep. So, one is not better than another, and we do have all 4 animals in us. But some of us are screamers. Some of us are absolute screamers, and that is our natural behaviour. And when we go to work, we have to adapt. Because I can't behave like a nincompoop all day. I can do that when I'm MJ the human. But MJ the professional can't go, well, actually I get paid to do that. But I have to try and have some sort of credibility. So I've got to pull down my peacock in me and I've got to pull up other ones. It's like playing the puppet strings. Now, see, an authentic leader does that because they have self-awareness. The porcupine who doesn't have self-awareness doesn't know that their behaviour is impacting others. And that's why I don't think poorly of the Harrys. I pass no judgment on the Harry. It's important that you walk away understanding that. I don't think Harry's horrible. It's just I can identify that Harry has behavioural issues. He's a bad puppy. He's a bad puppy. And the puppy can't be trained in that instance. So you want to develop your awareness around you. Now, there are lots of challenges in the jungle. Who do you find most scary in the jungle to deal with? Which one frightens you the most? The lion. Surprise, surprise. Okay. So here's my strategy. And it's usually your boss, yeah? Who's a lion. How do you interact with a lion? Lions don't know they're being rude. When a lion is behaving like a lion, they are not saying, let me just turn into an arrogant son of a... and really go to town on this person. They don't know that. They're asking you for something. They want you to do something. And they need it now. Lions have a lot of stuff on the go. They love problem solving and challenges. So they've got double the workload happening that you have because they're all about this. I'm going to lose interest any minute. They love to start stuff. Don't let me finish it. I want to move on. I'm bored already. So there's a lot of things on the go, and they're juggling. And oh my God, I needed to see about that. Let me talk to you about that. And you, yes, you can have that, by the way. And I'm angry about that. And they have no filter. They don't stop to go, oh, I shouldn't have used that word. I wonder how she felt. They have a heart of gold. They have a heart of gold. They're just really rude. And they don't know that they're being really rude because they're really high on getting results. Their pillar of authentic leadership is around delivering results. So I'm very, very high as a lion and a peacock. And I'm a peacock, I'm gorgeous, and I'm lovable, and I'm funny, and I'm bubbly, and I'm a supermodel. Until you stuff with my result. I will reach for my salmon and damn well come after you. And I will beat you until you give me that result because I am a high achiever. And results mean everything. But I'm not a horrible person. But you put me under stress, you manipulate my results, I'm in trouble. And I'm going to protect myself. And I do that through my mouth without thinking. That is the lion. So next time the lion's going off at you, don't focus on the tone and how they're saying it. Their eyes can pop out of their head. They froth. They spit. They're incredible looking things, don't they? It is so funny to watch a lion having a lion moment. How interesting. And that's what you need to do. Go, but don't show that in your face. And just put your pink bubble up and go, let me listen to what they're asking me. And you watch, they're asking you for something. So stop interpreting, particularly if you're a dove and you're all beautiful and caring and I've got manners. The lion doesn't have manners. Doesn't make us a horrible person. It's just we're going so fast that a please and thank you is implied. And God, do you not recognise we're on the same team? Do you not recognise that I'm getting the result? Okay, they're not evil. You must desensitise. I'm not saying it's okay for the lions to behave like that, but they're the least likely ones to change. Why? No, they may have self-awareness actually, which makes it equal. They usually get promoted. Because organisations love people who get results. So they go up the food chain and they get the best car bay and they get more money. And so they go, why should I change? Because it's working for me. Okay? So they're not going to change. And a lion without self-awareness is horrible, absolutely horrible, savage. So the only thing you can do is change the way you view them, and usually they are not evil, all right? If you've got dysfunction in your team, if you've got poor communication, DESC or the communication jungle is the tool that you should use. And you can really have fun because you get to understand, oh, you're not pedantic, you're just a turtle. Oh, you're not useless, you're just a peacock. And you can start to have a bit of banter and a bit of fun. The final key ingredient to add to your authentic leadership toolbox. I've given you quite a bit of information on this in the back of your book. I think it starts around about page 50 something or other. So there's lots of information on the jungle in there for a bit of fun reading. Yeah, about page 55. Belbin team roles. Has anybody heard of Dr. Meredith Belbin? Cool, a couple of yeses in that. Again, you can do Belbin as a licensed product as well. It gives you a fantastic report. You can go, how exactly is this person going to work with this person? If it's at a senior management level, you can get some very interesting details out of it. Belbin says this, that in a team, there needs to be, don't panic too much about your papers, just listen to the luscious training creature. There's lots of wonderful reading in there for you. Belbin says this, there's 9 roles in a team. 9 roles that need to be filled or potentially be filled if you would like your team to be successful and get better results, more productive. Sometimes we need a specialist on board. I call the specialist Mr. or Mrs. Wayne Kerr. They're really passionate and enthusiastic about their topic, but it makes them a little bit boring or narrow-minded sometimes, or, oh Lord, they can't hear another opinion because they've only got their own. There's a time and a place for a specialist. We need them. We need specialist knowledge on teams. Sometimes, not all teams have specialists because they can phone a friend, dial in, hire it in, whatever. So you may not have a specialist per se on your team. And quite often there's many teams where we have lots of them because that's what we get paid to do. Then we have the implementer. As you look around, the implementer, what do you think they do?
Make the change.
They implement everything. Now it's not them that implements, they may have part of a way to do it, but they are making sure that every single team member is doing what they have to do. So they make the cogs in the wheel turn. The coordinator is the conductor. So what do you think the coordinator does? Delegates. Okay? So they're telling you. So when you think that somebody's being a bossy boots, and why are they telling me to do this? Because they're a coordinator. That's their team role. It's not that they're too big for their britches. Yeah. Doesn't that make you stand back and go, oh, they're not that evil. They're doing the job. And the same thing, the implementer, get on with it. You sort of go, don't we take home the same paycheck? Aren't we in the same position? But the team role is, as an implementer, to make sure the cogs are turning. Then we have the shaper. The shaper is the red whip. Crack that whip. What do you think the shaper does? Pulls out a salmon. Okay. The shaper is the person who has low tolerance for bullshit. Yeah? So they whip that team back into shape. No, we've been talking too long, get off your phones and back to work. So they'll give you they usually have a fabulous sense of humour. So they'll say something witty, sarcastic, quite often inappropriate, to just shape you back into gear. They usually try and do it with humour. Then we have the plant. Now the plant is a light globe. So light globe, if you see a picture with a light globe coming out someone's head, it means they're having an idea. So the plant is the ideas person. Sometimes in government organisations, when I do Belbin, I find that plants are a little bit low because you're not paid so much to think. So if you have, I don't say that evilly, sorry. but if you are beginning a project or you've got a new idea and you know that you haven't got a natural plant, just get someone in for that meeting. Someone who's crazy, thinks differently, doesn't live in the real world. They're usually quite unorthodox, the plant. They're a little bit weird, but lovable. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, resource investigator. The resource investigator is the telephone. So what do you think a resource investigator does? Yeah, let me research that on the internet. I know that they're doing something at Fiona Stanley. I know Albany's up to something. I've heard about that at Armidale. They're the person who's always talking and connected and networked. You think they're just talking a lot. They're resource investigators. So they're all about, let me steal an idea. Don't reinvent the wheel. Let's just steal the idea and make it better. Monitor evaluator. The monitor evaluator is the eye. What do you think they do?
Detail.
The pain in my... And we need them. They're just doing their job when they tell you to dot that I, cross that T, and you haven't indented by 1.5. Did you not read the report and see how fabulous it was? Okay, so it's huge detail going on. And for some of us, we're like, oh, please up your medication. The team worker, the TW. The TW on there is the green one. Look at them holding hands.